Welcome, everybody. Hi, my name is Judy Mark. I am the president of Disability Voices United. I'm also the parent of a self-determination program participant. And I want to start by apologizing. I have a little cold. It's very mild. I do not have COVID. I feel fine, but it's all landing in my throat. So I'm a little hoarse and we'll be drinking lots of hot tea. We're going to start today just with a short tribute to Judy Heumann. Judy Heumann, for those of you who may not know who she was, passed away last Saturday at the age of 75. She's considered the mother of the disability rights movement. She founded the Centers for Independent Living. She was one of the leading advocates for the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Individuals with Disability Education Act, Section 504. Any of you have benefited from that, and I am sure that 100% of you have benefited from her advocacy. You would know that she's an incredible person. I recommend a few things if you want to learn more about her, and then we're going to hear from a few people who knew her. If you want to learn more about her, she wrote a book called The Human Perspective that's phenomenal. She's also the lead subject of the Academy Award nominated documentary called Crip Camp, which is a fantastic movie. Please see it. It is amazing. I think it's on Netflix, so it's pretty easy to get. I'm also going to put in the chat while others are talking some really great links. One of our board members, Diana Pastora Carson, interviewed Judy just, I think, last month, and some other great information, her website and other things about Judy. So I'll just start with the personal thing. I met Judy about a decade ago, maybe a little more, and I was speaking on a panel with her in New York City about some issues around disability. And after I spoke, she literally grabs me from her wheelchair, pulls me aside, and gives me a stern talk about how I need to change the way I'm talking about certain inclusion issues. And I was totally intimidated and freaked out. And I thought it was just me. But today was her memorial service and her funeral or burial. And I watched it live. It was on at 7 o'clock in the morning. And everybody got up and said this. Everybody said that she's given them a talking to, including presidents of the United States, who sent messages from President Obama, Clinton, and our current President Biden. So that was her character, that she gave everyone advice, but she could not have been more warm to people. So right now I want to call on Connie and Harvey Lehmann, who've known Judy. You can go ahead and mute. You've known her since the 1960s or the 1970s. When did you first meet her?
70s, because Sean wasn't diagnosed until, well.
She had a twinkle in her eye, by the way.
We didn't get beat up by her.
Oh, good for you.
No,
No, it was really early. There was no access. There was lots and lots of segregated school sites, and education for people with disabilities was just starting then. And I remember she'd come to our house, and our house was not accessible, so we'd have to lift up her
wheelchair. She was in a wheelchair. She had polio,
right, as a kid, and she was segregated against her whole life up until she became probably the best activist I've ever known. We had a lot of humor together. I like to think of the fun stuff that we had. I'll tell you one story. When she was at our house, she said, Harv, I got to talk to you. And I said, okay. He said, it's a personal thing. I said, okay. She said to me, and she pulled me down like a whisper, and she said, do you know any Jewish doctors that are into Chrome? Okay. And I said, I got to think about that one. Okay. And we picketed together in the early days. There was a lot of discrimination against the severely handicapped. Connie and I and Pierre may remember Macomber, don't you, Pierre? Oh, yeah. We filed a lawsuit on discrimination against the severely handicapped because of how the funding was that I found this, Judy, going through, like you were over, going through, this is a copy of the lawsuit. It was Sean Lehmann versus Macomber, and it was over severely handicapped. That was our role in that part. But Judy, she was an inspiration. That's the best thing.
I have a great story because I know we only have a few minutes. I was at the anniversary of the first year of the celebration of the ADA Act, and they had it at LA Unified School District, and it wasn't accessible. She couldn't get it. They had to carry.
I'll never forget that.
Carry her in. The thing, you know, Tim Jen, you remind me of her because you have such a great sense of humor.
She had a great sense of humor.
We never got beat up by her. I'm being facetious.
I was looking for someone for her.
But we were in a demonstration when Reagan was trying to dismantle what's called Public Law 94-142. And she was so competent and typical, in my view, that we were running late. And I turned around and I said, "Hurry up, Judy." And I thought, oh, yeah, she's in a wheelchair. What am I doing? She didn't even get mad at me. I mean, she was great. And one thing that I want to end with that had a profound effect on me, and this was, I used in speeches a lot of times. She said, "You know what, Connie?" And she said it to everybody, "You are all tabs." I said, "What do you mean tabs?" T-A-B. I don't know if any of you have heard that expression. It's called temporarily able-bodied. And I knew you'd like it, Tim. And she had such a profound effect on people. And she also did it with a sense of humor. It's a terrible loss, but you all can read about her. And I
watch Crib Camps. She's good. A friend of mine, Pierre may know him, Bill Bronston. You'll see him in Crib Camp picketing with her. We were good picketers in that day. Okay.
That's great. Thank you, Connie and Harvey. Really appreciate it. I mean, you knew her so early in her career. And then the other person we wanted to ask was Tim Jen. Tim knew her in her current world and served on a board with her until she passed away. So go ahead, Tim.
I've only known Judy Heumann for a short period of time when we were serving on the board together for Communication First. I remember my special education teachers talking about her advocacy work and leadership in our community when I was in grade school and her ongoing push for disability rights and equality. When I told my teachers that I was on the same board as Judy Heumann, my teachers who are in their 80s, they gave me their advice to captivate everything that Judy has to say and to learn from her present. I never met someone who always had empowering words when she spoke. Whenever we joined a meeting together, I always got the feeling that I sat right next to a figure that was beyond me, advocating and striving for all disabilities. Like many of us, we were saddened about Judy Heumann's passing. It took me a while to comprehend what my friends were texting me, and I had to turn off the chatter because just like Rosa Parks, who refused to sit in the back of the bus, Judy Heumann was our voice to everything that we have now. Even though many of us only know Judy Heumann from afar, we all learned from her by adopting her constant work to bring disabilities to the forefront, and that is the reason why we have so many organizations advocating for our community.
Thank you, Tim. That was beautiful. I thank you, Joyce Clark, for putting the service, the link to her service, her memorial service and her funeral today. It was an incredible service. If you want to learn the history of disability rights, go to that service, and really personal stories told about her. And she did find love, Connie. It wasn't a Jewish doctor. It was a Latino man who, Jorge Pineda, who was the love of her life. So she got her love. So we're going to move on with Todd. Todd, did you want to give a tribute? Go ahead, Todd. Todd, are you able to speak?
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm sorry, I missed something. Did Judy Marks pass away?
No. Judy, no, that's me. I'm here. I'm all good. I just have a little cold. No.
Oh, Judy.
No, Todd. I'm okay.
I didn't recognize you as a brunette.
Judy Human. I know she has the same name.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I didn't recognize you as a blonde. Brunette.
I'm not a blonde.
Yeah, Judy, how you doing? I'm sorry. After you were talking about Judy, I thought you had passed away.
No, I'm all good, everybody. I know that we have the same name, which we pointed out when we met each other. All right, we're going to get started. We have a great group of folks to answer your questions, to answer my questions today about any kinds of issues. We're going to talk today about the role of the statewide and local volunteer advisory committees. And however, you all are welcome to ask any kinds of questions, and I will have them field your answers. Just checking, Ed, are you all just seeing the slide?
Yep, Judy looks great.
Thank you. All right. So just so the folks, and give me a little background, just so folks know, the self-determination law, which passed in 2013, provided for community oversight and established local and statewide advisory committees. The local committees are based at the regional centers. And if you look at the law, it very specifically says they exist to provide oversight of the self-determination program. And the committee shall consist of, it's very specific, the Office of Clients' Rights Advocate for that regional center, which is the Disability Rights California Advocate, consumers, family members, and other advocates, plus community leaders, and includes a representative from the Family Resource Center. A majority of the committee shall be consumers and family members, and having been at all of them at one point or another, I can say that that is certainly the case, that the vast majority, if not all of them, are consumers and family members. They are also supposed to be diverse, representing the geographic profile of the community as well as their race and ethnicity. And that the way that they're appointed, a lot of people want to know this, half of them are appointed by the state council and the other half are appointed by the regional center. And how that all works is a little bit more complicated. The regional center does not have most of them do not have a formal application process. It's often the executive director or the SDP manager who selects somebody. Some do have a formal process. The state council, though, does have a very formal application process. And you do that through their website. You will find the application to get on the committee. So one of the roles of the local committees is to review whether the program is advancing the principles of the self-determination program. And those principles, I don't often hear committees doing that, but it's a really important tool to say, okay, regional center, this is the way you're implementing the program. Does that meet freedom? Does that meet responsibility? Does that meet confirmation, the various principles? Obviously, the law is very clear on how it's supposed to be implemented, particularly the directives, which are considered law. So the committee is also responsible for making sure that their regional center is following the law. And they're also supposed to be making recommendations for improvement to the regional center and the department. And I've seen several regional centers take great use of that, and we'll talk about that later with them. There is also in the law a statewide self-determination advisory committee, and we have the co-chair of that statewide committee here with us today, Rick Wood. It is formed and sort of conducted by the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, And it's comprised of the chairs of each of the 21 regional centers or people that they designate. And they're supposed to convene at least twice a year, and we are always pushing them to convene way more than twice a year. There's various roles of the statewide committee, including gathering the information that they receive from their local committees and sharing that information with other people, including the people in the program, their families, regional centers, and DDS. And they're supposed to be making recommendations to increase the program's effectiveness. So who do we have today? We have great representation, and I don't even have Tim's name on here, but he can absolutely speak for his regional center. We have Joyce Clark, the chair of San Diego Regional Centers Committee, Richard Dier from North LA, Pierre Landry from Lanterman Regional Center, Carla Lehmann from Westside, Irene Litherland from the Regional Center of East Bay, Maia Pawooskar from Inland, Carolyn Tellalian from Central Valley, and Rick Wood from Kern Regional Center, who is also the co-chair of the statewide committee. Also adding to that list, we have Tim Jin, who is the vice chair of the Orange County Regional Center. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and really hand it over to these committee members with a range of questions that I have for them. So I'm going to start with Rick. Rick, you've been in your child and your family have been in the self-determination program since the beginning, because you were a pilot participant in the late 90s. And then you were chairing your committee before the statewide law went into effect. And you've been chairing your committee since, and now have been chairing the statewide committee. How have you seen the committee's function in your perspective, the local committee's function? Do you think that things are going well? Do you think that they can improve? Like, give me some of your off the cuff remarks about how the committees are doing and whether they're serving their functions.
Well, it's the right opening question, and the perspective that I bring is that I was what was known as the liaison between the participants in the Kern pilot, and there were 36 of us for all those years, 20 years before the rollout, and the regional center. And it was a position that was very similar to chairing a committee, but we were so small that we didn't really have a committee. We just had everybody. And one of the things that I knew is that the informality of the pilot was certainly a plus and really important to us, but that it was not going to be, or could not be, as informal. And there were going to be parameters, guidelines, structure once this thing became permanent. Now, many of you may know, many of you may not know, that the pilots were supposed to be 3 years. They were temporary, but they were never disbanded. And there were 5 of them. 5 regional centers had pilots. Kern had 36 people, I think the most in a pilot, and specifically from an area that is rural or isolated, as opposed to being in a city or suburban area. The success of our program was based upon the relationships that we developed among the consumers and families, what are now independent facilitators, and we called them something a little different then, but they're the same thing, the program manager for the regional center, and the FMS. And those are the 4 people that we have now in our program. So where does the committee fit in now? Well, like Judy, I have been not to all, but nearly all of the 21 regional center LVACs, local advisory committees. They each functions differently. Each has a different, and they have very varying degrees of influence with the regional center staff, We think that ours is a model. We abide by Bagley-Keene, which is the open meeting law, meaning that our meetings are published and they're accessible to people, but we don't follow Robert's rules of order. We have a very informal, interactive approach and a great relationship with regional center staff at Kern. And they have, that meaning regional center staff from the director, Misha Gates, all the way down to the service coordinators have bought into self-determination, if you will. In other words, they've endorsed it. I don't see that in all regional centers. I see varying degrees of commitment. I think you're going to see that today. If there's a takeaway from my comments, it is that LVACs function really well when the participants are able to interact in a way that everybody or each of them feels like they're contributing something. And so what we do is we have reports from staff. We grill staff on the things that we don't like, if you will, and ask for improvement where we think improvement should be. We address issues including disparities, and we make recommendations to the regional center for implementation. We are not perfect, but we think that we do a better job than most, and that is evidenced by the number of enrollees as a percentage of our population. Although I must say many regional centers are catching up as a matter of percentage, and I'm very encouraged by that. But you're going to hear from people as to how their committees are functioning. Essentially, what we really want to do is have an interactive relationship in which we're providing oversight. We are providing recommendations. We make ourselves available, for example, for events to bring along providers to reach out or participate in outreach to individuals who are not in. And then finally, the specific issue, I think, in our regional center, which is, by the way, Kern Regional Center is headquartered in Bakersfield. However, it's got this little arm that goes up the east side of the Sierra all the way to the Nevada border, which includes Mammoth Lakes, Bishop, Ridgecrest, Tehachapi, and so on. And we've done really well on the east side of the Sierra, really well, and in getting people in. And that is because we've got a strong independent facilitator network that was developed over 20 years of the pilot. But we have struggled, like the rest of the state, in bringing in to the program Spanish-speaking and members of the Latino population. And we struggle with that just like everybody does. We have addressed it and have a number of things that we are doing specifically related to one-to-one or one-on-one outreach. And then last but not least, just a little bit on the statewide committee. Judy, I'm not going to repeat what is on the was in the PowerPoint. We will meet 4 times this year. We have met once. They are Zoom meetings. They are very. We like them to be interactive and participatory. And we are currently focused on the development of a platform for the sharing of the things that the locals are doing. We call it sharing best practices. We feel like that's a mandate in the statute. And not to suggest that we're just wonderful at the statewide level. I've been the co-chair for 3 years. Pierre and others know that the reason that I am a co-chair as a member, meaning a chair of a local committee, is that prior to that, for the first couple of years, there was no co-chair. The chair was a member of the state council who didn't necessarily have to be a participant in self-determination. And quite frankly, we didn't accomplish much in the first couple of years. Now, one could argue that we haven't accomplished much under my tenure as well, but we're trying. And we have obviously a participant as the co-chair who is the parent of a person who has been in self-determination for now 23 years. So I'll leave it at that and leave it to others to tell their stories, and happy to answer questions.
There we go. Thanks, Rick. I was on mute, so you didn't hear me coughing. That was great. That was super helpful, and I'm going to come back to you in a little bit. I'm going to turn now to Pierre and Landry. Pierre, I know you've been super involved as chair of your committee, but also very involved on the statewide network around data and making sure that we are really understanding the role, how things are going. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the way your committee works and how I've just seen really amazing things that you have done in your committee to make sure that you're getting all the information you need to be able to provide the recommendations, accurate recommendations. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, Jody. Thanks for the intro. We have been since day one. I'm a data guy, and since day one, we've been asking our regional center for the information that they send to the state Department of Developmental Services. And they originally gave us raw data, and then we asked them for some additional information, intervals between the different stages of getting into self-determination. To actually manage something, you have to measure it. And so we've asked them to collect additional information, which is a draw on staff time, and we get that. But it's important for us to get that information. And we're still struggling with not only getting the data, but also analyzing the data, looking at it over time, and we're working with their data analysts. So it's a challenge. In our own regional center, I understand also that the regional centers are supposed to be sending monthly and annual data to the department, and the department is supposed to be sending annual data to the legislative committees. And we've asked for that data and haven't gotten a response from the department yet. And it's frustrating because there's real crickets there. But I'm interested not only in what's happening at Lanterman Regional Center, I'm interested in what's happening at the other regional centers so we can benchmark. Are we doing okay? Are we doing better than others? Are we lagging behind in particular areas? So I think we need to push stronger both at the state level and at our own regional center levels for good quality data that we can analyze and see how well they're doing. Just a brief aside, we run our meetings similar to Rick's Kern Regional Center STAC meetings. Ours are a little bit more formal than his. We meet bi-monthly. We were meeting bi-monthly in person until COVID, then we changed to Zoom. Now we're meeting monthly. We have it every other month, a bi-monthly meeting on the even numbered months. It's our regular STAC meeting. And we've just started this past month in March, last week, we had our first working group meeting, which is also operating under Bagley-Keene, but we don't take any expectation that there's going to be action taken. Just ideas that we take back to the full STAC. And we deal with this as to be compliant with Bagley-Keene, which I fully support. It's an open and public discussion that has a noticed agenda. And in the working group, we can have one, we can have some, we can have all of the members and still be compliant. And we get great input from the public, not just input, but dialogue and discussion. And to me, that's the best part about this working group. We were very, very pleased with what we got last week, and we look forward to using that. Also at the committee, we've had guest speakers like Rick and the ombudsperson come and talk to us about various things. We stole an idea from North LA called the Best Practices Subcommittee. We get around Bagley-Keene, or we're compliant with Bagley-Keene because it's only 2 members of our committee who develop agendas for the full meeting. We explore topics for the STAC to discuss, and we come up with draft proposals for action. So we don't spend a lot of time in the committee meeting trying to come up with the wording. That meeting is not covered by Bagley-Keene by law because it's just 2 persons. And anything else? We were surprised. I stumbled across this change in the law last summer, and I just realized it about a month and a half ago that we're supposed to have the Family Resource Center representative on the committee. And it was like, ooh. And I asked, our Family Resource Center is staffed by regional center staff. And does that mean a regional center staff member is going to be a member of this advisory committee? So far, we're still waiting, but not still waiting. We did get a word back from DDS last week that yes, it should be somebody from the regional centers staff. Who that is yet, we haven't heard yet. So we're waiting.
Thank you. That was really helpful. And you stole the thunder of North LA Regional Center by talking about the best practices committee, because I was going to be asking Richard Dier about that. But I want to give a shout out before we move on from Frank Lanterman Regional Center to Howard McBroom, who is he currently your vice chair, Pierre?
Howard has been our vice chair since the beginning. So, and Howard has stepped in when the chair couldn't be there. So we're very pleased to have a long-time advocate like Howard on our team.
Thanks, Howard. We're going to talk to you in a minute. I also want to point out that Chris Miller has joined us. Chris, you are chair of Redwood Coast, right? Okay. Well, yeah, I think you should be, Chris, you should be able to unmute, but hold on, let me ask you. Go ahead.
Okay, can we do that? Well, I'm not really the chair per se. I was designated by the chair to go because some of that might have been a little hard for him, I think. I don't know, but they designated me to go. So here we are. So yeah.
Great. That's great. Well, welcome, Chris. We appreciate you coming.
Thanks.
So I'm going to turn over to Richard Dier. Oh, wait, Tim, I'm going to call on you in a minute. I'm going to call on you in a minute. Hold on. I have a strategy in my brain here. I want to go next to Richard Dier to build on what Pierre was talking about. I'm looking for some really great, cool things that are happening at different regional centers so that people know that these are folks who are volunteers and working for you. Richard, why don't you talk a little bit about a couple of models that you've created at North LA? Well, you have many models actually at North LA. You have a best practices group, you have a committee-centered plan, and you also meet with your, well, I'm going to preface this. You meet with your grantees every month. So let me preface it real quick because I should have put this in a slide. Each local advisory committee has a certain amount of money, and they can spend that money, it's state dollars, and they can spend that money on a range of projects to improve the self-determination program at the regional center. It can be anything from individual coaching to independent facilitator training to group trainings, resource fairs, lots of different creative ideas. But one of the ideas that they have at North LA is they actually have monthly meetings with all the grantees. So Richard, why don't you talk about some of the creative things you have done at North LA?
Well, we're very happy that Pierre's group and Lanterman, I think we border each other.
We do.
Using the term of best practice subcommittee. That process came out of our committee-centered plan. We decided that we would do a committee-centered plan to figure out why are we here, what are we doing. We got some training from DVU as one of the grantees and a lot of support for that process. So we've developed, I think, a 12-point plan that we keep going back to refining what's our highest priority. And out of that, for example, we are now working very diligently from that plan on looking at the issue of how our staff members trained in self-determination. So our regional center, North LA, is a huge regional center, both in terms of population. It may not be as big geographically as others, but we do have 3 distinct population centers. And so for us, it seems like the Zoom meetings solved the problem of not having, 3 meetings with different groups of people. We're all getting together now. But our best practice idea really came out of discussions with our deputy director, who is now the director at San Gabriel. I have to give Dr. Jesse Weller credit for not only listening to this idea, but doing it. And we first went to our executive committee of our staff and told them, we want you to know who we are and what we do. Look at the law. We're oversight. We want to use the word collaboration. We're not saying we have authority, but we went to the very top and developed support from the executives. And that, I mean, the accounting people, the people that hire the janitors, everybody was involved in our meeting to hear about our committee and what we did. One of the issues that we developed out of that was a pattern of meeting. Every other Thursday, we have an hour-and-a-half meeting between myself as co-chair and Laurie Walker, who's only not here unless she found a way to get here because she's visiting a relative that's sick out of town or something. So she asked me to be here. But every Thursday, every other Thursday, we have an hour-and-a-half meeting with an agenda that we set with at least the operational staff from self-determination, and we go through problems. I think we've been listening at our monthly meetings. We are still meeting monthly. We're listening to the idea of having alternate meetings that are of the various flavors that I'm hearing from Lanterman, and I want to talk to Pierre more about how that works. But we've been listening to the problems and then really confronting staff like, why are our IFs not getting paid? We want to know. We're going to talk about that for a whole hour and a half. You know, that's what it takes, because these are system breaking deals that we have to exist. So we feel like we're making some progress by helping the staff focus on what really needs to happen. We're not sure they're getting that same direction from above. And so my pet project right now is figuring out how we relate to our board of trustees. When we give advice to our North LA Regional Center, who is supposed to listen to that advice? Is it anybody that's, you know, a brand new staff person? Or is it the board? Is it the executive director? So I'm really curious about what models are developing statewide for self-governance. We, I don't know if any other advisory committees did this, but we wrote a letter to DDS and to our board about the problem with the vendorization on the 099. We asked our board to reconsider their insurance policies for people that might only be having incidental contact. There certainly is no custodial connection with serving a participant in a plan. And we've just started a dialogue. But I think it's interesting that our board has only one person on the whole board that's involved with self-determination. And on our committee, every single person is involved as a family member, as a provider, as a participant. So we think we want to create that dialogue. But the person-centered plan really gave us focus and gave us some validity that we could go to our more senior case management staff, that we don't meet with them every single week, but we're meeting with the key people every other week. And saying, here's our plan. We are an entity. We don't know what kind of entity we are, but we'd like to make our own rules, whether they're bylaws, how often we're going to have an election. We'd like to select who we send to the board to talk to the board when we think we have policy ideas. And so the latest brainstorm that we had is that our local advisory committee would like to collaborate with maybe just the LA County local advisory committees to see what's working for you, what's working for me. What's working for us, how can we combine two ideas and make them better, even if they stay different. So that's one of the reasons that I was happy to come today, because I'm looking at my screen and seeing Pierre as someone I want to talk to, because we at least are neighbors and maybe have some kinship in some of our thinking. So that issue of governance of the LACs is really important to us now. What can we kind of expect? How far can we go with things like demands? We have no power. We recognize that. We understand advisory means you have to listen to us. But who listens is the question that we're having right now. Who do we get to talk to, even if we can't say, well, you must do anything more than listen? And we think that there's an opportunity for us to get into the governance of the agency through the board. I'm a former executive director. I was the treasurer of my regional center for 5 years. So I understand that process. And I think that when our board has any question about self-determination, whether it's to be proud or to wonder, they should know, what does our committee think? We have a great advisory committee. What do they think about this? And right now in my board, I'm going to go tonight to do public speaking. I'm out of order when the topic is self-determination, even if I'm the chair. And that may be somewhat true statewide, but if there's one example of it being different, I want to bring that example to my board and say something different is possible. There are times when policy and decision-making has to be heard. That doesn't mean we're going around our executive director, but the policy comes from the board. So I'm going to be quiet about that, but that's my goal today, is to connect with some people that can have conversations about self-governance, self-determination for the Self-Determination Committee. It seems it's time to have that topic.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Richard. I'm going to move now to Maia, because I know you're hearing about committees that are doing some really extraordinary things, but I know that it's not always easy to get that kind of interactions and support from the staff at the regional center. Maia Pawooskar is the chair of the Inland Regional Center Committee. I should mention, people are using lots of different terms. They're saying LAC, LVAC, SDAC. They're all mean this committee. Sorry that there's so many different terms, but SDAC is Self-Determination Advisory Committee. LVAC is Local Volunteer Advisory Committee. LAC is Local Advisory Committee. Each regional center kind of uses a different acronym. So sorry that's happening. But Maia's regional center is the largest regional center by far. Like North LA is a very large regional center, but it still is 1/3 less consumers than they have at IRC. And yet, being the largest regional centers has some of the lowest participation rates in the state, and per capita has the lowest participation rate. Tell us about what you're trying to do as a committee there, Maia, the struggles you've had, and what you're hoping you can do in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, it's been me hearing the others have given me some ideas. Maybe we can reinvigorate our committee. You know, in the beginning, when our committee was formed, we actually wrote to the board of trustees of the IRC saying that, you know, in your board meetings, you should have a section for self-determination reporting, and we would come and report it. And we were shut down very quickly. There was a letter that was written by the chairperson of the board of trustees, who was, you know, obviously not a regional center employee. So we knew that did not go very well. However, this was way in the beginning, you know, the program was not implemented, and I think we can look into it again, because now the program is open to everyone. Back in the time, it was still a phase-in kind of stage after the pilot, so very few people were participating. Our committee underwent, I don't know whether anybody remembers, we all seem to have sometimes short memories, but in 2015, there was a shooting and the whole regional center was closed. I know Judy around that time had come and done a presentation to us, and we used to meet somewhere else. So for the longest time, our committee could not meet. And then after working with State Council, we began to meet on State Council premises. So I kept, going with this committee. We kept it live and open, and we were building up. Then we started doing, this was all before COVID, we started doing meet and greet, and we were getting good audience and attendance. I mean, relatively good, because in the regional center, it is very difficult to get attendance from families, but it was increasing, and then COVID happened. So once COVID happened, then our committee again had to stop, and then until we could meet online. But the online actually worked. I know everywhere else the attendance increased. For us, it worked the worst. We lost a lot of committee members. Yes, we lost, and those who were there, they were not able to, I don't know what was the reason. So now we are actually, then the State Council, who was always a great support for us, they lost staff. So, there was no manager for like 10, 11 months at the State Council. So there was, it was a very flux time, but we kept meeting, we meet monthly. And now there is, manager at the State Council. So with their support, there is actually new staff. All the regional center also underwent a whole staff changes. So the people that were doing self-determination, It's something I think the thought came to my mind, I'm just going to say it and maybe you all can explain. Initially at our regional center, there seemed to be enthusiasm and people moving to become self-determined, in the, like they wanted to be program manager or director of this, but they all moved out. So I think maybe within the staff, they feel there is no growth if you remain doing self-determination, whereas there is more growth in traditional, because at the end of the day, even today with the high expectation by DDS is at the most 10%, which is, and our regional center has, like you said, nearly 49,000 consumers or clients. That is humongous. And of course, we have barely 100, and I think it's not even 150, nearing somewhere there in self-determination. But at least we have that much. It took the longest to make the move, and now they have participant choice specialists and there's a manager. So finally, there seems to be a team that is forming at regional center. And so there's been a lot of changes, completely new team at the regional center, completely new team as a state council. And in all this, and when we used to meet, we were one of the regional centers that actually had Spanish translation way back then, and we still didn't get participation. We used to do meet and greet. We used to take cookies. I used to bake cookies. But we did not get Spanish participation that much. And I even sometimes moved the meetings to different locations. And that is when we lost some of the members because, our committee is voluntary and unpaid. Even the cost of when we used to hold it at different locations, some members wanted at least the reimbursement for the gas. And it wasn't possible. So now of course, it's online. And now we are working on increasing, making sure the member participation is there at every meeting. Despite all this, we've been meeting, there have been times when I'm the only one attending meeting, but I have held the meetings just so that the committee does not just get forgotten or erased. I wanted to make sure this committee remains. And even though the numbers are not large, the families have been able to transition. And basically, we don't have local FMS. Everything comes from LA area for us. So we need to actually develop more local resources. I think we need more FMS agencies that have some office or some route here because, we have 49,000 clients.
That's a lot of people.
I think you're muted.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, Maia. And I remain concerned about IRC, and a lot of people have been posting in the chat that they remain concerned. I'm going to turn now to Carla Lehmann, which is the opposite of a big regional center. It's a very small regional center, but per capita has one of the highest participation rates in the state. Why do you think that is, Carla? And what have you all done as a committee to make people aware of the self-determination program and make sure that they're getting in and supported?
I think one of the reasons is that you're from Westside Regional Center, so that's a big reason. So we all learned from the self-determination program early on. I think that's a big plus. And also I feel like in comparison to other regional centers, the process seems pretty smooth at Westside to transition, and the transition seems pretty fast in general. Another thing that I feel that is successful is that when we have an issue or someone has an issue, the person comes to the committee. I always invite people. I post it on Facebook. I post it everywhere. So people are welcome to come and also tell us what are their issues, and we try to resolve it. And many times I hear that is very successful. So that's another one thing I want to suggest to everybody. So if you're having an issue, a barrier or something with self-determination, go to your local advisory committee and speak up, because there is where usually the executive director is there, or sometimes it's the director of client services people that can actually make things happen. And also, well, right now, one of the good things that we have is that DBU is also got the RFP for giving the workshops. I think that's really good, and people are learning more about self-determination. We had a workshop related to how to be creative with the spending plan. Another one was how to overcome barriers. I don't know, and I also feel like this is a small community, but we all talk to each other. We have a lot of Facebook groups. We have a lot of, so parents talk to each other and we tell, oh, did you hear about this? This is amazing. And that's how I feel it's growing a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. You know, while you were talking, I was trying to find the data on the DDF's website of how many people are participating in the self-determination program by regional center. And the last time they posted that data was in 2021. That's really not good. And I have found recent data from February on total numbers, but not by regional center. So it's obviously a real problem, a lack of transparency to see where regional centers are, and certainly in comparison to each other.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think like in the statewide meeting, it was presented that last time when we had the statewide meeting, and I think we were. I can check now. I can find the PowerPoint.
That would be.
Check. But it was it's over. Yeah, let me find the PowerPoint so I can let you know exactly and send it to you.
Right. The data that I found was just total numbers. So if you have the by regional center, that would be great.
I don't know if it's accurate, but yeah.
I'm going to turn now to Joyce Clark, who is from another very, very large regional center. I think maybe San Diego is the second largest and North LA is the third largest. Joyce, are you there, Joyce? I'm not seeing you on the screen. I want to make sure you're still there. Oh, you are still here, but I'm not seeing you, Joyce. All right. So I will come back to you, Joyce.
I'm here. I'm going to try and I'm having tech problems at home today. No, so if you give me a second, I will get on the screen. So hang on one second. I seem to touch stuff and then it gets worse. So I'll try not. There we go. I think I am here.
Yay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Thanks,
and I have to say that. Oh, go ahead.
So Joyce is the chair of the San Diego Regional Center's Local Advisory Committee. San Diego, there's two interesting things about San Diego. Number one, they were part of the pilot project, but unlike Kern, where they had 34 in the program at the beginning and 34 in the program at the end, when it became statewide, San Diego had like 30 at the beginning and had like 3 at the end. So a lot of people dropped out of the pilot project. I'm not really sure why that was, but that's history. But you're also a massively large regional center with very distinct populations. You have rural, you have very urban. How are you making sure that people from all over, of all ethnicities, are being able to fully participate in the program?
Well, I think like everybody else across the state, it is still a challenge. There's such a variety of demographics, but it is definitely a priority area that was identified by our committee, and to the point where we developed a system with our group of task committees, task forces to address different issues with enrollment, transition, and outreach within the regional center, and trying to do some promotional targeted outreach with videos and different kinds of things going to the communities and all of that. But I'll be honest, it's still a challenge. And that's something we are devoting with our new self-determination implementation funds to do a little bit more on that, to address that issue. Most of the staff that, our regional center has a lot of bilingual Spanish staff, but we still have, I want to say, 7 threshold languages in this particular area, which doesn't even touch upon the numbers, but predominantly, I think the Spanish population is certainly the predominant population of monolingual families that we know, are known to regional center. We do have interpreters available at our advisory committees to encourage. We do try to outreach. We do work with local organizations who are serving diverse communities. Presentations have been made. Materials have been translated, but not enough. So back to that, I think that, looking at all the service access and grants that have been put out for years, in addition to self-determination, my question to DDS, I think at one of the advisory committees, statewide meetings was, where is the data that's showing the impact on the money that has been spent and a number of organizations have consumed over the years? Pierre mentioned that, the state law stipulates that family resource centers are part of our committee. In addition to being a parent, I am a co-director of a family resource center and a family empowerment center, and we have been using and working very closely with our state council to address some of those language barriers as well by getting into the communities. We just hosted a big conference in Imperial Valley, and self-determination was one of the prominent topics, which combined regional center staff, committee members, individuals with disabilities in the program to really talk with families to help them understand and see in real time, in real life, what self-determination can look like. And I feel like that's really going to be the best piece of advice, is we're finding getting into the community, bringing the information to the families. We provided transportation to areas that were far-reaching, offered that to bring to these conferences. And every single conference that occurs in San Diego usually has a self-determination component to it, be it people first, be it leading the charge, that's working with service coordinators, service agencies, parents, self-advocates are involved. Exceptional Parent Day Conference will have that strand to it. So, as I'm thinking about it now, and not focused on my technology woes today, that I think we've done a really good job partnering with other parent organizations and other groups to reach diverse communities. FEDIA is a conference that happens annually within San Diego as well. And each year, probably for the last 4 or 5 years, we have made sure that we're providing this information and getting people to that area to really know more. We did the self-determination local experience for the first time with self-implementation funds. And it was pretty novel in some senses in terms of really trying to have some workshops, but also some networking opportunities. We saw some things that we would definitely like to improve and expand on. What I noticed in these areas where people could come and kind of gather more informally, that, we had like IF groups and FMSs and parents really being able to have that opportunity to exchange information. And it really seems to me that parent organizations, grassroots organizations, community organization is a much more natural way to share information, and people are more likely to attend because they can get information on a variety of topics, including all of the things that we're trying to understand, and it's less intimidating. And we have made it every single thing that we do at our center at this point in time on all our trainings, parenting hacks, our education IEP, our office hours now that we're hosting twice a month in the morning and in the evening now includes an opportunity for parents and individuals to come forward and bring their individual issues. We happen to be part of the Community Navigator program now, which is going to focus on regional center. And I think this is going to give us an opportunity as a center, but also bring it in together with the local advisory committee to do that one-to-one support with parents and individuals interested in enrolling into the process of walking them through it. We do have, families are saying they can't find IFs, they can't find people to help them in the way that they need. And that's another goal of our implementation funds, is that capacity building which does encompass all of the diversity issues, but also it encompasses working with groups that are training. We used funds with Guidelight to offer scholarships to parents and individuals with disabilities to get these skills, and then in turn, hopefully help other parents or continue on doing it professionally. The vendorization process now is still an issue for people to kind of do this ongoing, or maybe one. So we're talking about what can we do to look at agencies that are truly committed and focused to the self-determination model, and seeing if we can kind of cluster people so that parents individuals who may not want to put out that expense of operating a business, maybe we can do it with a like-minded agency of some sort to help with that, because there's no one approach. And I think that's it. We've done videos, we've done testimonies. We're trying to address the threshold languages. The education and the outreach is going to always be the case. And being a parent, I feel like the information I have always got that has been the most helpful is connecting with other parents and creating those opportunities to meet, to mingle. We also have been doing power hours, so people can come in and come back to the ask questions on FMSs. And, it's almost all of our issues and barriers are the same that it is across the state. It has to do with the system barriers and the financial barriers, but also getting into the community where people are trusting and people are feeling like, why I can do this, and making it and breaking it down and unpacking it for people who don't speak English and have those additional barriers. I hope that we do a better job moving forward, and we continue to work on that, but we recognize that it is something that we're solidly committed to. We also realize that the work here, this is, I think the words and the acronym speak for itself, a voluntary advisory committee, and that it's really hard to move a lot of initiatives and money around. And so we did invest in a project coordinator to help do some of the activities and the logistic and operational pieces. I will say our regional center has been responsive in terms of really taking information that is coming from the advisory committee and helping us with what we think is important. I was really encouraged. I like the ideas of really getting more invested in the board and participatory in a way that's formalized more in terms of what we see as these issues. The data thing troubles me deeply because I haven't really heard any movement in terms of a systematized way of getting the information, not just counting the number of people enrolled and the number of people who are limited, but the timelines and how long are the transition periods taking. So I don't know if we'll hear more about that.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you only because we have a few more people to get through. That was super helpful. Lots of amazing ideas things that are going on in San Diego. Really appreciate you sharing that. I'm going to move over to Irene Litherland, Regional Center of East Bay. So going from the southern part of the state up to the northern part of the state, the Oakland area. At Regional Center of East Bay, you have also a very, very diverse group of folks. And I'm wondering how you have responded to concerns that I hear about equity issues all across the state, but I know that there's a lot of equity concerns at RCEB. And I'm wondering, how you as a committee are trying to approach that, trying to hear from your community and try to address some of those concerns.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. That is a major issue of concern to us. And we've had quite a bit of discussion about and debate about how to approach that issue and how best to do outreach to different groups, groups that are underrepresented in self-determination at this point in our area. Versus trying to deal with some of the issues that make it very difficult for anybody to begin with, and then people with additional barriers to transition into self-determination. And so we've been looking at that both ways. Actually, I'm due to join another meeting in few minutes. I told him I'd be there in a few minutes. We are, this is one small step, but we were finding that what we've been hearing is that many people are not even informed about self-determination at their IPP meetings by their case manager, what others call service coordinators. So the meeting I need to switch over to in a few minutes is we're finalizing a brochure that our regional center has agreed to give out at every IPP meeting, and we will have it in different languages. And that's partly because we're also realizing that sometimes people are told about self-determination, but they are discouraged. The way it's presented by the regional center staff may be discouraging, or may be saying, but this wouldn't apply to you because of such and such. So it's a matter of the case manager discouraging the person, not maybe intentionally or maybe just not understanding. So we want everybody to receive the same information. And so that's one of many things we've been working on.
That's so important. People all getting the same information.
Yeah.
Folks should know that DVU has some legislation that we've introduced, which does a lot of things. But one of the things that it does is it requires similar information to be provided to every consumer at their annual IPP.
Right.
About the self-determination program.
Yeah, we now have, there's a box on the, maybe everybody does this, all the regional centers, but I know at our regional center, there's now a box on the form that the case manager has to check that it was discussed. But we decided to have a printed brochure so that what was discussed is actually in writing, not just up to the case manager. We also have Spanish language interpreters at all of our meetings, and people can request interpretation at our meetings in another language. And all of our materials that we have produced we had done an IF training in 2019, early 2020, and then we recorded it and have it on YouTube. It's a 6-hour. Well, actually, the recorded version is a 5-hour training in modules, and that is in different languages also, as well as a host of materials that are translated into different languages. And that's one thing we did with the first round of funding that we had, was to do that. We are really also kind of struggling with the issue of how best to build the IF capacity in our area that can serve those different communities.
That's great. Thank you, Irene. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn, Tellalian, are you still there? I hope you are. I know it's taken a while to get to you. Let me know if you're still there, Carolyn, because I'd love to call on you. Not hearing, she has a regular job she has to be at, so I'm not sure she's able to. I know she's still in the meeting. We'll come back to you, Carolyn. Tim, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what's going on in Orange County? Also, one of the problem children of the Regional Center Self-Determination Program. Go ahead, Tim. Tim, are you ready? You want me to come back to you?
Yeah.
I'll come back to you. Okay, got it. Okay. So I'm gonna, we gotta take, there's a ton of questions that people have. And then Tim, you let me know, and Carolyn, you let me know if you're back. Oh, Carolyn, you are back. Carolyn, what would you like to add here from Central Valley Regional Center? Can you unmute, Carolyn? I am not seeing you unmuting. Are you able to do that? All right. We're going to take one question, and then when I see you unmute, we'll go back to you, okay? there's somebody here but with my same name who's just changed her name to Kelly Colzer-Reyes. Thank you, Kelly Colzer-Reyes. That is, there's not two of me. You don't want two of me. Okay, so Ed, get ready for a bunch of the questions that are in the chat. First, we're going to go to Howard McBroom. Go ahead, Howard. Tell us what your comment is. Where'd Howard go? There you are. Can you unmute? There you go. Good.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that Pierre Landry is a great chairperson of our self-advisory committee. I can't praise him enough. I can't imagine, you know, the committee without him. And yes, he is right in pursuing the data. Without data, you can't do anything. And secondly, Judy, I want to congratulate. I want to wish you a very happy Women Independence Day. You know, I want to wish a happy Women Independence Day to you, Judy, and every other woman here.
Thank you, Howard. I appreciate that.
Women International Day.
Yep, it is International Women's Day. Thank you. Ed, let's go to you. What are some of the burning questions in the chat? Ed, do you have a question for us? Ed, it cannot.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judy. I was talking and I was not muted, or I was not unmuted.
Okay.
I do have a number of things from chat. The first one is from Lourdes, who asks, any update on 099? I'm not sure what 099 is.
They're giving updates.
We all know the 099. I don't know, Rick, Kelly. Let's make Kelly a co-host. She is good. Kelly is the our SDP trainer at DVU. Have you heard any, Rick? Like, there's supposed to be some great progress being made on that. This is the service code for independent facilitators.
Hi, everybody. I'm not Judy Mark. I'm Kelly Colzer-Reyes, and I'm not on this panel today. But the 099 issue, we had a couple of meetings with DDS about what to do about that. I believe it was supposed to be released by March 1st. I believe today is past March 1st, if memory serves. And that is the update.
Wow.
So to add to that, Kelly and I serve on the self-determination advisory committee that reports directly to DDS, and it meets periodically. And we're having a meeting on March 21st, but I don't have the agenda yet, notwithstanding that I'm the co-chair of that. And I'm quite hopeful that the 099, that there will not only be progress on the 099 issue, but that that will be the subject of that meeting as well. I don't know whether there's anybody from DDS here on this chat. I saw Susie Rickwarth's name earlier and was looking for it just a few minutes ago. I didn't find it, but that is the update. Unfortunately, we don't have anything new.
Yeah, that's a problem. Go ahead, Ed. Give us another question. Oh, Tim, you ready? Go ahead, Tim.
I've been on my committee before there was an official committee, and despite the challenges that we faced over the years, I feel that by having our meetings on Zoom has brought a lot more public comments in our meetings versus than meeting in person. As funny this may sound, the committee and regional center are more open to hearing from the public way more than meeting in person. In Orange County, we usually meet every other month. Actually, I think we got more people into the program since the pandemic started because a lot more people are involved in our meetings wanting to learn more about the program. But the biggest hurdle is getting a certified budget because there are many families who are being underserved by our regional center. Once they have a real working budget, Orange County is really good at paying FMS on time.
Thank you, Tim. Really helpful. I urge everyone to go to your local advisory committee meetings, give public comment, talk about concerns you have. or successes you have. Look at what we got to do with self-determination. Definitely do that. Go ahead, Ed. Give us another question.
Next up, we have from Maria. I would like to ask if the parent is providing therapy under the SDP for an adult client, what qualifications does the parent need?
Therapy. I've not heard that question before, because if you're providing therapy, you need to be a certified therapist in whatever kind of therapy you are talking about. I don't know if that's behavioral therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. I'm not really sure what that is. So if let's say you're providing occupational therapy, you need to be a certified OT with the education and background. If you are a speech therapist, speech therapy, you need to be a speech therapist. So you need to have a license to practice that kind of therapy. Mostly what I hear parents doing is providing for adults sort of one-on-one aid type stuff, like bringing the person into the community, supporting them in their job, caring for them in the home, teaching them maybe skills to live more independently. Those are the things that I mostly hear parents doing, or serving as the independent facilitator. So, okay, let's give one other one, Ed, and then we'll go to Mari.
Sure thing. From Stephanie. Why is it that, this is a good question, Stephanie. Why is it that other than DVU, people like me never hear about things going on for or about the self-determination program?
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there talking about the self-determination program, not just DVU. Although I will say that some of the things that happen out there, some of the information is not always accurate. And so you want to make sure that where you're getting your information from is really staying on top of the latest directives that are coming out. Back in December and January, the last couple months, there were directives coming out nonstop from DDS, and that changes the rules. And you need to be very updated on that. That same advice, by the way, is given to you for when you're selecting your independent facilitator. Ask the IF, how often are you on the DDS website? How often are you going to SDP Connect, where we talk about the latest information? How many times have you spoken to the ombudsperson office? So people need to, do you go to the statewide self-determination advisory committee meetings? Your IFs should always be doing that. Go ahead, Rick. Did you want to also answer that?
You know, one of the things that we talk a lot about barriers, specifically recently, the lack of an IF network in certain areas, meaning not enough independent facilitators who are familiar, and of course the FMS problem. And there are some questions or comments in the chat about the fact that the FMS, that we're in crisis with respect to the availability of and willingness of FMSs to be engaged and involved in this program. But the other thing that I want to mention is, this is the thing that kind of drives me crazy, and I cannot seem to get a sort of uniform approach on outreach. So people say, I've not heard about self-determination. That if there's one thing I hear, I mean, I hear a lot about the FMS issue. I hear a lot about independent facilitator issues, but the biggest issue is, hey, I've never heard of this program. My service coordinator doesn't tell me about this program. Or if they do tell me about the program, they don't tell me enough for me to understand what this is. And in many instances, I'm discouraged. And so if there's one thing that I could wish for the state or for all the regional centers, is that each local advisory committee and each regional center, that is the staff, develop an effective outreach program. It may be different. It is different for different populations. It is different because we have different sizes of geographical catchment areas. But my thought it's always been that this has got to come and grow from the ground up. If it's not organic, it will not work. And And it seems to me that the biggest barrier of all is the lack of information. And so for those who are on the call who wonder about this, go to these meetings. Just go to one meeting and ask them, why do I not know about this? Because that then raises the issue, puts the issue front and center before the committee as well as the staff. And if we don't have outreach, effective outreach, and it can come in so many different forms, if we don't have it, we're not going to grow the program. It just is not. It's not going to happen because we now have a box in an IPP that says that somebody has been advised that there's a self-determination program out there and that they may qualify for it or might be interested in it. That's not it. It's not the training. That's for people who have questions about it. There are so many people who have just simply not heard about it at all. And I see it in every single public meeting that I go to. That is a question that comes up in the chat. So I just wanted to make that point yet again.
So I want to call on Carolyn Tellalian from Central Valley Regional Center in the Fresno area, but I'm actually going to pose a question to you that's in the chat that I can't find, but I'm using my memory of it. Why are we even working on getting new people into the program when we don't have enough FMSs and there are all these problems with the program? Where do you come out on that, Carolyn? Ooh, I can't hear you. Oh, bummer. Write something in the chat. I promise I'll read it. Wondering if any of the other chairs want to broach that question of why. You wanted to say something, Maia?
Yeah, I have been saying, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because my earpiece fell off. So I'm trying to find, okay. So I have been having the same question myself because I have kind of, it tied to the previous question that it said about outreach. Everywhere I go, I mention self-determination. So when I meet them again, they say, we never hear it. It's not true. I told them, but coming from me is not enough for them. They need to hear it from regional center because I am just a parent. I do not have the authority. I can say there's a new program, but unless the regional center tells them over and over again, even if it's simple, like, hey, there is a choice program now. One is this way of doing, and we have another way. It doesn't affect you except now you have whatever, you have an alternative way of receiving services, especially if there were services that you wanted to receive that, and those services were not vendorized. There is an alternative way. Many people will pay attention. Me telling them any number of times, they do not remember. So that's one. Number two is for those people who I do tell, they know about this IF. They have approached IF. I have approached IF. I've approached FMS. There is 6 months to 1 year wait. So when there is such a dire situation, especially in our region, because say if I went and they say we go into this effort of maybe finding people, and if we cannot, if we have to wait 6 months, there's no guarantee those people cannot wait for us. So we absolutely need a solution for the IF and FMS problem first, before we can get those people who are on the fringe line to come in. There is that fear, and I don't blame them. I myself am not able to transition because I'm on a wait list.
I get it. I just want to, before I call on Carla, did you want to comment on that as well, Carla? Okay. Thank you, Carla, for putting in the chat, or for giving to me that I could put in the chat. This is a presentation from DDS to the Statewide Advisory Committee. You can see this is from December, so it's a bit out of date already, and we have gotten no new data from DDS, but you'll see the problems with how few people have gone into the program at certain regional centers. Go ahead, Carla. How did you want to respond to that?
I just want to say that as a parent, and my son is also at, in self-determination. Obviously, I was waiting in line. I was the first one, and it changes people's lives. So why wouldn't you promote it or want, even though there are still some barriers that we need to work on, if it was my child, I would like to know because I want to, or if it was me, like, you know, and the participant, I would like to know about this program. And then also I feel like the more we are, the more that we can kind of work on the program and find solutions. And even like what Maia was saying, because I'm also an AF and I work in different regional centers, I noticed that at Inland, they changed a lot from 2 years ago to now, and they have more participants, choice specialists, and things are kind of moving smoother. And I noticed in some other regional centers too. And also because there's more demand, also is creating a delay in the regional center in responding as well. So, you know.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you.
Mari, we probably only have time for one question, one more question. So I'm going to go to Mari. You have had your hand up for a while. Go ahead, Mari.
Yes, thank you. I want to say thank you for all just today and for the effort you guys are trying. The Integrated Community Collaborative. And I can tell you as a Hispanic, you know, when I was listening to Mr. Rick Woods, I say bingo, and he said, you know, it is not, people are being discouraged. And this information comes directly from the regional centers, especially in my community. Why? Because the service coordinators, who are the ones who have the connection directly with their families, I can tell you that they are not providing the information. I don't know if they don't have the training, or they sometimes just tell the families. In my community, the Hispanic community, you know, you cannot even qualify to enter self-determination because of your budget. They are telling, because in our community are one of the communities where the families have the smallest budgets, and therefore, service coordinator, we are hearing this in the ICC. You're not even qualified, don't even try, because it's not much you can do with the budget that you have. So service coordinators, that information is coming from regional centers, are discouraging families. And also what I hear today is like everybody is reporting something very different. I get it, it's, you know, different, 21 regional centers different, but it has to be like consistency in communication and information they are sharing with the community. You know, if this information comes from DDS, it should be shared the same. Yeah. But people are calling it different, people are applying differently, and over people became very confused. You know, we have sometimes 200 people in our cafecitos, which is every Thursday for our Hispanic community, and people from Sacramento, from San Diego are joining these cafecitos every Thursday. And I can tell you, there's some people like, oh, what is that? What is that? We're talking about the same thing, but because every regional center is calling it differently, people became very confused. So something that maybe we can encourage, or maybe that can be changed, is for the regional centers to really, you know, share the information across the same way it's coming from DTS. Let's not change it. Let's not make it more difficult. We've been in self-determination for the last, 6-8 years? You know, my son just barely entered this year after waiting, from the best lottery of 2,500 people, barely making it, waiting over a year for my son to enter. You know,
Mari, I'm going to cut you off only because we have to shut down in a minute. Very excellent things. Harvey, can you talk in 1 minute or less, Harv? I'll let you have. You had the first word and you have the last word.
Thank you. It's a question more than a. Are the regional center boards, we keep saying regional center, are the boards on board with self-determination? That's the bottom line. They set policy, they hire and fire the director, period. That's it.
Yeah, it's a great question. Tim, did you want to have the last word then? Okay, Tim gets the last word. Go ahead, Tim, and then we got to stop.
Despite what is going on with so many issues with the program, we have to get more people into the program no matter what, because I'm 48 now and has been in the traditional system for over 40 years. And unless there is systemic-wide changes, the broken system should not exist in the next 40 years. The voice and stories from self-advocates are more powerful than regional centers and even from families. As we honored Judy Humans Live, we have to encourage more people to get into the program.
That's right. I agree. Thank you. That was a great way to end this SDP Connect. To that it's a testament to Judy Heumann that we have a successful self-determination program. I want to thank all of the chairs and co-chairs of their local advisory committees who've joined us. We had literally from the border of Mexico to the border of Oregon and everywhere in between today, big cities, small rural areas, and we so appreciate you. Just to let everybody know, I know we're going a minute late. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, DVU is hosting a very important town hall on the HCBS final rule. Before I leave, I will put information in the chat if you want to stay. We will not be speaking anymore because we are losing our interpreters. Our next SDP Connect is not till March 29th because I leave next week to go visit my daughter in Spain. Yay. So thanks, everybody. I promise I will not be sick the next time you see me, and have a great week.